Maryland football will easily be a bowl team this year.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Maryland football should easily be a bowl team this year. I think the goal every single year for every college football program, whether it's an SEC type of program, a lower level program, whatever the case is, your goal should be to make a bowl game. And whether that's going to the Rose Bowl, the national championship, or going to the Music City Bowl game, one of these lower level bowl games, I think every team should strive to getting to some sort of bowl game in college football. I think that's the goal. I think that's kind of what you want to be able to do. And to me, Maryland football as a program, our goal is to get to 6 wins right now. Just to get to 6 wins. I think if we get to a bowl game, 6 or 7 wins this year, I think it puts us in a really good spot moving forward under Mike Locksley. But I think there could be some things that could happen if Mike Locksley didn't get to a bowl game this year. But I do want to talk about Maryland football. I think we have an easy path to a bowl game. To be completely honest, I think we have a really manageable path to a bowl game. And if you remember, before last year where we had a really poor record, the previous 3 years we had made bowl games. We had been in bowl games, which was really big for Maryland football before the 2024 season. We had won 3 straight bowl games, and Locksley was clearly on the right path. In 2023, we went to the Music City Bowl game. We beat an SEC opponent in the Auburn Tigers. It was a pretty, we won by 18 points. I want to say it was 31-13. Wasn't very much of a close game. Before that, we beat NC State, another solid program, in the Duke Mayo's Bowl game. And then before that, we beat Virginia Tech in 2021 in the New Era Pinstripe Bowl, 54-10 over Virginia Tech. So it was clear that we were consistently making a bowl game. And then the last year was like, whoa, what just happened? What just happened to Maryland football's program? And then this year now, us to make a bowl game, us to make it, to get to 6 wins, to Vegas, they think it's more likely not to happen than for it to happen. Because if you look at Maryland's win total, it's about priced at 4.5. 4.5. So that's over under that 5 range for about even money. And so to get to over 5.5 wins, that's plus money. So the Vegas is telling you that Maryland football should have some trouble getting to a bowl game, that it should be somewhat of a tough path, that it's more likely not to happen than it is to happen. But to me, I disagree. And a lot of the time, I really think Vegas does a good job. I trust their lines. I trust what they come out with. I trust all those different things. But this year, this particular subject, I disagree with Vegas. And I actually think Maryland's path to a bowl game, if Mike Locksley is a decent coach and some small things, not even big things, come together, should be relatively easy. You guys have heard me talk about this Big Ten schedule, and the schedule overall being easy. It is. It's an easy Big Ten schedule. Now, no Big Ten schedule can be easy in the grand scheme of things, but when you look at it in terms of how you look at the other teams' schedules and what teams you don't have to play, I think you look at it and you're like, okay, this schedule is actually pretty easy for Maryland football. But when we get into some of the rankings and the teams that were playing this year, this Maryland schedule, I think, is so manageable, and we should kind of easily, honestly, get to a bowl game with how things are mapped up. So one, CBS rated Maryland football as the easiest schedule in the Big Ten. There's 18 teams in the Big Ten. They named us the last ranked teams in terms of the hardest schedule in the Big Ten. And so right away, you're like, okay, Maryland has the easiest schedule in the Big Ten. They should be able, with the easiest schedule in the Big Ten, you would think this Maryland team's good enough to win 2, maybe 3 games in the Big Ten. I don't think that's crazy to say. Let me know what you guys think, but I think winning 2 games in the Big Ten with the easiest Big Ten schedule for Maryland football and Mike Locksley just a year ago, we had made 3 straight bowl games. I don't think that's something that's out of the ordinary. I know we had a bad year last year. You could argue the team wasn't great and all these different things. And this year, there's a lot of newcomers. There's a lot of change. But there are places where we have gotten better. We've gotten deeper at. And maybe we don't know exactly what it looks like. But I do think you have to mix in the schedule and how Maryland looks at things and be like, they can rather easily get 6 wins. Now, there is one thing that I have to say has to happen for us to get 6 wins. It comes down to the non-conference. It does. If Maryland slips up in a non-conference game, if we slip up in one non-conference game, it actually might end up being hard. It might end up being hard. Those are expected to be 3-0. Like I've already counted in my head, I'm like 3-0. You play FAU, who you're 16-point favorites on at home. You play Northern Illinois, a team that you should easily beat. You play Towson, another team that you should beat, but you can't always automatically count these. But in my head, I'm like, I find it rather challenging to believe that we would lose to Towson, or we would lose to Northern Illinois, or we lose to FAU. But remember, Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last year, so crazier things have happened. And Notre Dame's a better football team than we were. So you never know. You can't come in and just be all wishy-washy about it. But to me, it's 3-0 in my head. And then I say, okay, you have this easy non-conference schedule. It's not like we're playing like a UVA like we have the last couple years, or playing any type of team that's like, oh, like they might challenge you, or, oh, they might actually have a good chance, or, oh, that's a 50-50 game. You play 3 non-conference games where it's like, those should be easy. And then the Big Ten is where it gets interesting. That's where it gets interesting now. You need 3 more wins to be able to get to a bowl game. 3 Big Ten wins, I think, is so manageable. I think that's so manageable. So you have 9 games out in conference every single year, and you have your 3 non-conference games. And so when you count it, that means that you can lose 6 games out of conference, or in conference, excuse me. You can lose 6 games in conference. I'm like trying to do the math in my head. So you can go 3-6 in non-conference play, or in conference. I keep saying non-conference. In conference play. With the easiest schedule in the Big Ten, I know people aren't picking us near the top or even the middle of the pack in the Big Ten. I think we're good enough to go 3-6 in the Big Ten. I think that should be rather easy. And when you look at the schedule, and I'm pulling up the ESPN rankings of the teams in the Big Ten, we should be able to get some wins. We have plenty of teams that are ranked in the back half that we get to play, that we have the opportunity. We don't play Purdue, who arguably is the worst team in the Big Ten, and we don't play Northwestern, but ESPN has Wisconsin ranked the 15th best program in the Big Ten. So basically, they think Wisconsin's is one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. ESPN thinks, and I'm going to trust a lot of their analysts and kind of what they have to say. And remember, we play former quarterback Billy Edwards. We play them after they play Alabama, so they potentially could be beat up on September 20th. To me, that's a really possible win. I think Maryland's going to have a good opportunity to beat Wisconsin. So they think Wisconsin's one of the worst teams in the conference. I think that's a winnable game, even though we're on the road. Next week, we play Washington, who they have ranked, ESPN has ranked the 11th best team in the conference. There's 18 teams. So that's a back half Big Ten game. There's no reason we aren't in that game. That's definitely a winnable game at home. That's a game we should be in, a game that is absolutely winnable. So you start off this season, you have 2 winnable games against 2 Big Ten teams. I'm not saying we automatically win those games, but I think they're winnable. I think we have a good chance at winning them. Then you play Nebraska October 11th. People are predicting Nebraska to be pretty solid this year. ESPN has them ranked as the 8th best team in the Big Ten, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like it's Ohio State, or it's not like that's Michigan or Illinois or Oregon this year, who they're predicting to be pretty good. I think that's another game against Nebraska, and you get it at home too, that you're going to have the potential to win. And then you play UCLA on the road October 18th. ESPN has them ranked 14th out of 18. So one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, UCLA, that hasn't been that great. Another team that I think you should have the opportunity to win, even though you're on the road. And then you play Indiana November 1st. You get Indiana at home. Yes, people are high on the Indiana team, and they could end up being a good team. ESPN has them ranked 6th in the Big Ten. But Indiana at home, you're going to tell me you have no opportunity of winning that game at home? I think you have a chance at beating them. Rutgers November 8th. They're the 13th best rated team. I think they're worse than that probably, according to ESPN. They're a back team in the Big Ten. We can't beat Rutgers on the road. Illinois is tricky on the road. Illinois, it has been rated as a top team. I think they're preseason like number 11, but still, I know Illinois is good, but you can't tell me they're that good. And then you play Michigan November 22nd. Definitely a hard game, a tough team to play. I'm not saying we win that game, but Michigan's not as good as they were 2 years ago. And then the last game of the season, you get Michigan State, who just got rated the 12th best team in the Big Ten. So back-end team again. There's plenty of opportunity. So you play Wisconsin, Washington, UCLA, Rutgers, Michigan State, all games that you are back-end Big Ten teams are predicted to be back-end Big Ten teams that you should absolutely have an opportunity to beat. And then teams that might be more of a stretch, but you still really have an opportunity to beat Nebraska. And then you talk about Indiana. And those are two teams that, they're good, but you could easily steal one of those. And then Michigan, Illinois are going to be tough, but still, I can still see a world where Maryland potentially beats like an Illinois team on the road. Or I'm not saying we beat Michigan at home, but I don't think it's impossible. There's just too many opportunities there for me to be like, Maryland should easily get a bowl game. I can see it right now. Like, we could go this year and we could maybe beat Wisconsin, lose to Washington, but we beat UCLA, and then last game of the year, we beat Michigan State. That still would allow us to lose to Michigan. That would still allow us to lose to Illinois. That would still allow us to lose to Rutgers. That would still allow us to lose to Indiana. That would still allow us to lose to Nebraska. You see where I'm coming from? Like, there's a lot of opportunities to win games, and I just think as long as Malik Washington is who we think he is, and the defense can just be okay and not horrible, and same for the offensive line, just be okay. Don't even have to be like middle-ish to the Big Ten. Just don't be like a bottom two unit in the Big Ten. There's potential there for Maryland to win 6-7 games and kind of easily transfer to a bowl game. I really believe that. Just look at the rankings and ESPN, look where people think they're going to finish. A lot of these teams are bottom teams in the Big Ten, and you don't get any. I don't think there's an automatic loss on that schedule. I don't. I think Michigan, you look at them last year, they were normal. They weren't anything spectacular. Maybe they get back to being better, but remember, they have a freshman quarterback as well. Illinois, I know what people are high in Illinois, but, it's Illinois still. Let's not act like Illinois turned into Penn State or Ohio State where they're unbeatable. Not saying we win that game, but every game's winnable. And so it's hard for me to believe that outside this non-conference schedule, Maryland football can't find 3 more wins. So that's just how I see it. Who are the breakout players next year for Maryland football? I'm going to tell you guys some players that nobody has been thinking about, but guys that I think can break out. We'll talk about that next. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday. Fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on your MVP, race for me, I think maybe there's a possibility that Trevor Lawrence in the back end could win the MVP. There's other players that you guys can bet on. So take your long shot or pick somebody to win the Super Bowl that you might not think. Maybe it's the Chargers. Maybe it's the Ravens, whatever you want to do. So visit FanDuel app today and start playing your featured bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. So this Maryland team has relatively, I don't want to say unknown, but unknown to kind of the public. But I do think we have some non-obvious breakout stars that I want to talk about that are going to break out. I've talked about a couple. We all know Malik Washington. Like, that doesn't really count. I'm talking about guys that are really flying under the radar. There's a couple that we've already talked about and mentioned. Sidney Stewart is a guy that really sounds like he could be our best pass rusher. The freshman, I've talked about him. Check out yesterday's podcast. I want to expand and talk about some more people. I also talked about Ryan Manning looks at the receiver position like he's going to break out. The redshirt sophomore, I'm really high on Ryan Manning. I've heard that he's been one of the better receivers in camp. I think next to Jaleel Farouk and Octavian Smith, he might be our next best guy. I think the way he's more polished, I don't think I know he's not the biggest cat in the world, but he's just going to be open, understands defenses. And I think Ryan Manning's a breakout star next year for Maryland football. I think he's going to play a ton. I think that receiver room could have multiple breakout stars, but I think Ryan Manning's the first guy online right now in terms of he looks like he could potentially be playing at a really high level. Somebody else that I think on the offensive line that potentially could be really good next year is Michael Hershey. I think he's projected to start at the center spot, and he's only a sophomore, but I think Michael Hershey could be a guy that actually ends up being one of our better offensive linemen down the road, excuse me. I think he's a potential breakout. I like his game. He got to play last year in spot minutes, and I think he's the future of the offensive line, along with guys like Ryan Howerton and Jalen Gilchrist. I think those guys are kind of the future guys that are going to end up being really good players. But I do think Michael Hershey could be a breakout, a guy in the offensive line that nobody's really talking about at the center position that could end up being really solid player. So I think he'll slide into that starting spot. We'll see how he fares, but he did play last year, and I thought he played decent in a lot of spots. Still has room to improve from last year. Haven't seen him play this year, obviously, but I think that's a breakout star that not a lot of people are talking about, but could actually end up being a really good player for Maryland football. I think Josiah McLaurin, the running back, in the few carries that he got last year for Maryland football, I saw something with him. I think he's going to be a good player. He has some bursts and he has some acceleration that you just don't see every day, along with Nolan Ray. So I think this running back room is interesting. I think Nolan Ray and then Deshaun Williams are all guys that are going to play, along with Josiah McLaurin, Iverson Howard, also the freshman. But I think Josiah McLaurin might be a breakout guy that we look at. And then I think there's some other players on the defensive side of things that could potentially break out. I mentioned Sidney Stewart already. I think Trey Reddick played a lot last year as a freshman. I think Trey Reddick definitely has the opportunity to kind of break out, make it his own, and become one of the better players in the Big Ten and on this Maryland football team. But I'm also thinking in the safety room, I'm thinking Le'Veon Scruggs. I think he was been a guy that's played a little bit, but now is a full-time safety. I think Le'Veon Scruggs can definitely be one of our guys as a redshirt junior next to Jalen Husky, who a lot of people think is going to be one of the better safeties in the entire country. And I believe that. I think Jalen Husky has ball skills. I think he has the cover skills from playing corner. I think he has a lot of different things. So definitely look out for Le'Veon Scruggs playing next to Jalen Husky as a potential breakout. So those are just some of the guys that I see potentially breaking out. Obviously, there's more, but those are just the guys right now that I can see it happening for. But we'll see what happens. It's still early, but there's a lot of unknown on this Maryland team. So expect some breakout stars that end up playing at a really high level. Next, we'll talk about Maryland football recruiting. There are some interesting things going on. What's going on with Buzz Williams? I think that there's something that we're not talking about enough that has become very clear under Buzz Williams. We'll talk about that next. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourselves up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. I recently grabbed a couch from Wayfair, and it's been the perfect addition to my house. It's the perfect type of style, and it fits me really well, and it's instantly made my space feel refreshed and ready for the fall. The delivery was fast and free, and even for something big, it was so convenient to find exactly what I needed all in one place and at a price that fit my budget. This is the perfect time to get my home ready, and whether that's organizing, upgrading my workspace, or making weeknight dinners easier. Get organized, refresh, and back to your routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. So I think there's a trend going on for Maryland basketball recruiting that's going to continue to go on that I actually like a lot and think is beneficial. I think Buzz Williams is more of a national recruiter than just a guy that focuses on the DMV. And I think it's really coming into play, and we're really starting to see it because I think for the last couple of years, I think a lot of Maryland's recruiting has gone on in the DMV area. And everyone tells you the DMV has some awesome recruits. It does. It has some good players. It has some high-level types of recruits that you get the WCAC with Gonzaga, St. John's, Good Counsel, DeMatha. You get some tradition, really good tradition type of programs that have been good for a while in the high school ranks. But there's something to be said to be able to recruit nationally and not just at home. And when you look at Kevin Willard's recruiting classes over the last couple of years, it's basically been all DMV players. Like when you look at it, it's basically been all DMV players. Like look at our 2024 class. Derek Queen, 5-star, who obviously ended up being one of the better Maryland freshmen we've seen. Baltimore, Maryland. Malachi Palmer played high school ball in Maryland. So, and then you look at that 2023 class, who none of the guys really panned out for us, but all Maryland guys. So you looked at Deshaun Harris-Smith, Maryland guy. Jamie Kaiser, Maryland guy. Jonathan Lamoth, Maryland guy. And then Kevin Willard's 2022 class, which was weird because it was his first year in, so he didn't really get to do what he wanted with it. But he got Noah Batchelor, who is from Maryland. So when you look at it, Kevin Willard didn't bring in very many recruits at all that weren't from Maryland. And then we see Buzz Williams' first class, and we see McDonald's All-American Darius Adams, guard, goes to Lalamere in Indiana. And then we see Alex Austin from Illinois, who I think is going to be really good. And then we see Josiah Harper, who goes to school in Indiana as well, Don Bosco Prep. So there's a complete kind of difference there where Kevin Willard barely brought – you look at it, like there really wasn't any notable names that you expected to play that weren't from the DMV. And some people might have some differing opinions on it. I do want to say this. I do want to make sure that Buzz Williams recognizes, and he knows this, that the DMV is the best spot for us to recruit and people are going to want to stay home. But the fact that he's starting to go national and that we're landing players from all over the place, I think is really cool with our recruiting. I just think it brings a little bit more to us. Like this kid, Austin Brown, is from Texas. I just think you can do more. Like the Dukes and the Kentuckys of the world and the UNCs, they don't only recruit in North Carolina or Kentucky, or Kansas doesn't only recruit in Kansas, or those teams aren't going to be top-end teams. And I understand the DMV is a hotbed, but still, if you want to get to a national level in terms of being a top 15 program, you got to consistently recruit all over the place. It just can't be one area. And I think we're seeing Buzz Williams really doing that. Like it's a clear trend. It's like night and day. He hasn't landed anybody yet from the DMV, and there's other players that he's looking at that he's recruiting. And then you look at Kevin Willard, and it was exactly the opposite. Everyone that he got was from the DMV. So there's probably more to it. I don't know if it's like kind of what your values are as a coach and how you want to go about it, but it's definitely something that's interesting that I've noticed, that I've been paying a lot of attention to, that Buzz Williams is going to go anywhere for recruits. And I think that's going to continue to be how it is. And I like it like that. I just think there's a more range of guys that we can get, and we've seen it. I think Bose Williams has done a really good job of recruiting, and we've continued to see him get guys and get players in certain places that we just haven't really seen Maryland get. So I do think it's interesting, but that's kind of my thoughts on that. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.